This video is about how America will never be the same again. And there's 7 things you need to pay attention to that are going to change and never go back to being the same that they were before. The first thing you need to watch out for and that you need to pay attention to is your typical dining out, takeout, or delivery that you're used to getting now. All those things are changing very quickly because everyone has had to lower their prices, adjust their entire business structure, and add new facets to how they do business in order to get around some of the restrictions that are in place right now. Restaurants will never be able to come back from this the same way as before. They're going to be very finicky when it comes to expansion or when it comes to employment and adding more employees and paying higher wages. And B, they also had to lower their prices, which devalued their menu items to a point where they're never going to make the same sales they used to make off the same items, which means everything else is going to have a cascading effect. They're going to have less people employed and not be able to pay those people as much because the items they're selling now are devalued and don't hold the same amount of value they did before. So everyone in the country suddenly now does delivery. Everyone in the country suddenly now does takeout. And that's going to be an issue that you have to kind of just watch out for because it's changing the concept and the dynamic of restaurant business in general. Also, because of the way this whole thing was structured, restaurants were targeted first basically when it came to shut down and were considered the place that you're most likely to get sick. So because of that, everyone's going to have a different feeling for how going out to eat is going to be in the future with the idea in mind that, well, we don't want to get sick. And if this whole thing keeps going, then it's possible that people won't be going out to eat the same way that they used to ever again. The second thing that I think we can all agree on is going to change and has always changed throughout our entire lifetime is going to be travel. There's going to be a lot more restrictions in place on what you can do when it comes to travel. Traveling at your leisure around the world, through the country, or wherever you'd like to go at any point in time is not going to be the same as it used to be. There's going to be more restrictions and higher standards in place at your airports and on your airplanes. Ports of entry are going to be more restricted and things that are going to be a little bit more demanding per se when it comes to security and check-in might even go all the way up to the idea of having to do some kind of testing before you're allowed to cross borders. And that's somewhere where a lot of us have thought maybe that'd be a good idea anyway, just because of these kinds of events and what we expect was going to happen eventually. But knowing now that we have this event and knowing that the average person's aware that this is actually a possibility, you can expect travel to be changed pretty much forever. And a lot of that's going to do with the economic situation as well, because airline industry is taking a huge hit right now, and they're never going to come back to be the same gigantic conglomerate that they are right this second. And unfortunately, it's going to affect our ability to travel. It's going to affect our ability to go overseas. And you're going to expect some different restrictions to be put into place. If you're coming from certain parts of the world, you might be required to isolate for a certain amount of time before you can enter whatever it is, whatever country you're entering. So, definitely expect travel to be higher on the restriction list. Definitely expect people's idea of travel to be changed as well. Are people going to take cruises? Are they going to go on vacations as much? Are they going to be more worried about their safety now than they ever have been before? Very likely. So just keep in mind that this is going to change again, as it has many times before, but we won't see it be the same as it was before this. The third thing that I can guarantee you is going to change and will never be the same again is going to be everyone's concept of necessity goods. And when I say necessity goods, I mean things that you need no matter who you are or what you do and no matter what your budget is. And of course, things like toilet paper and bleach and paper towels and all those things that nobody thought about before are suddenly hot commodities, right? And so now we're going to be in a situation where people are never going to look at those items the same way again. When they go to the store and they see that there's some of those items available, they're going to keep buying them. Now, I don't believe the panic buying is going to last forever, but I do think that everyone's vision of commodities that we used to think were just everyday life, but now are hard to find and more rare, is going to change. Those people are going to start looking at those items as something they just need to have more of. People are going to have more of those things stocked away than they ever have before. You're never going to get back down to that one last roll of toilet paper. You're never going to get back down to that one packet of baby wipes. And you're never going to have food that's not stocked in your pantry. You're going to have extra of everything. And everyone's going to be looking at it that way for a very long time. Now, a lot of people will eventually go back to not being as well prepared and not being as stocked up. But a big portion of the population has this in their mind now, and they're not going to just suddenly change their mind. In fact, they're going to probably ramp up. So when these things become to be available again, people are going to buy them up the same way as they are right now, but maybe less and less people are going to be participating in that. It's going to be a thing for a long time, and people are not going to ever be comfortable again after this situation we're in right now to just be down to their last of anything. Everyone is starting to be more prepared and understanding that you don't just get to decide when you go out and get whatever you want. Sometimes the decision's already made for you and it's not the one you wanted to make. Now, the fourth thing on this list that I want you to really pay attention to, and I want everyone here to really think about, is the fact that a lot of people are being conditioned into complacency right now when it comes to government overreach and what our leadership is doing, okay? People are turning to the government at a high rate right now for all the answers. They want them to tell us what's happening, let us know what they're going to do to save us, and give us what we need to get by. And a lot of people are just fully bought into that mentality. And the conditioning right now is that you really can't do anything until we tell you you can, okay? We have a lot of rights being restricted technically right now without it being said. We have a lot of things being put into place that feel like they're something a little bit more heavy or critical than what they are, but they're not being said that way. They're said in a euphemistic way. So everybody's just kind of on board with it and going, okay, well, this is what we need to do. This is what's best. Now, of course, right now we need to do our best to try to eliminate any of the threat that's going on right now. But everyone's so bought into what the government's saying that they're so worried about what the government's going to do next that it's just astounding. The complacency of not taking care of yourself and then waiting for the government to step in and help you, and the conditioning of expecting the government to help you and then feeling like they're there to save you is a little bit out of control right now. You're getting a lot of people out here, especially on the internet, right, that are saying things along the lines of, that's not what the government said, or that's not what they're going to do, or this is something that I heard on the news and that's what's happening. That's understandable. I'm glad you're looking at sources that you feel are credible. But if you're new to this whole genre, you're new to survival and prepping and everything else related to it, what makes you think you should believe everything coming out of the mainstream media or the government? Just a couple weeks ago, we were told that this would all be cleared up by April 6th. Do you think that's going to happen now? No, I don't. Just a few weeks ago, we were told, don't worry about it. This is just the flu, right? Those things have all been wrong, been lied to. And now we're just still going down the same route that a lot of us felt like was going to be the inevitable route that we're taking right now. So the complacency and the conditioning based on people who are just afraid right now and need the government to step in and take care of them is concerning, and it's never going to go away the same way as it has now. Now everybody's going to be fully bought into what the government is constantly trying to tell them they need to do or not do, and they're willing to just give up whatever they have in order to accept it, right? So here's my rights, here's everything that I've worked so hard for, just make sure we're okay and safe. And we all know what Benjamin Franklin has said about that in the past. So that's something that's not going to change after this, but it has changed since before it. The fifth thing on this list that is going to change and never go back to being the same is medical requirements. And when I say that, I mean across the board, the entire medical industry is going to experience some rapid and drastic change in order to adapt to the current situation. And we shouldn't expect anything less than an overhaul of our system at some point here. We're going to find out that more equipment is always going to be needed. We're going to find out that not enough people are insured. And we're also going to find out that if you want to go see your doctor because you sprained your ankle, you're going to have to be tested in one way or another. I also think that certain types of immunity boosters are going to be forced upon the people at a certain point if you want to participate in different activities. They're going to put a lot of medical requirements on us very soon here. And it's going to be a situation that's not very, acceptable for people who want to make their own decisions, but it's going to be what's forced upon everyone. And it is an excellent segue to open up the idea of universal health care, because right now there's so many people who still aren't covered by insurance that you might as well throw it out there as the only way to save their lives, right? So here we are, we're going to have a situation where the medical industry as a whole has to fully adapt to everything that's going on right now. We're going to find out that they're going to need stockpiles of other supplies instead of just relying on their immediate delivery system that we've all been relying on up to this point in time. And then we're also going to find out that more and more people need to be tested, more and more people need to be made immune, and more people are going to be given insurance whether or not they can afford it. So all these things are going to come together as one big overhaul, mark my words, and the medical industry is never going to be the same after this. If you think you're just going to go walk into the hospital because you cut your arm and you need some stitches and you're not going to be tested or put through a process in order to find out if you're going to be a problem for them or not. That is what you're going to be looking at, I promise you. So make sure you're aware. Medical requirements are changing daily, but right now is the big push where they're going to try to really change the way our entire medical industry works and what you can or can't do with your own health outside your home and inside your home. So number 6 on the list of things that are going to change and never go back to being the same, which, and this one might actually be a positive, is gun ownership and the thought process of the average American as to whether or not gun ownership should be allowed. A lot of people who were against firearms or just didn't like the idea of owning one have recently went out and purchased one. In fact, a lot of people who maybe were against guns completely have changed their minds based on the idea that they realized suddenly if everything's shut down and if the emergency services can't keep up with the demand, how are they going to be protected in their own home? How are they going to be protected out on the streets if they don't have people that they can actually call and expect to be there in a timely fashion? A lot of people are finally waking up to the idea that all these things should be on yourself. This is not something you should be letting somebody else decide for you. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your family. And a lot of new gun owners just joined our community, and we should welcome them and do our best to train them properly, teach them safety, and at the same time give them good ideas and good values for what it comes to being a gun owner. Okay, so this is a good thing that's happened. Now there is going to be some negatives around it. Okay, they're going to use it for a way to push more legislation and more restriction. They're already trying to slide things under the radar right now while we're all distracted. But once you have more and more and more and more gun owners out there in the country, it gives the legislators who don't like it more reason to try to go after it, because suddenly this is even a bigger problem than it was before. And I will admit, we do have a lot of people who might not know proper safety, might not know proper etiquette, and those people need to be trained and need to learn. And if we're not going out of our way to try to approach those people or help those people, and they have an accident or something bad happens, it's going to make those people who want to take that right away have even more fuel. So we should welcome all these gun owners into the community. We should teach them the most we can about what our thoughts and what our philosophies are on gun ownership. And we should teach them proper safety so that way they can be safe, they can be good, law-abiding citizens who are now part of a gun ownership community who are just trying to protect themselves and their family. And I think that's something we should welcome. I also think it's something that we should make sure isn't used against us for any reason. And we got to do our part, our best, to welcome those people in and teach them the right way to do things so we don't have any of those issues down the road. All right, and the 7th thing that's going to change and never be the same again in America as we know it is going to be personal hygiene. To be honest with you, you'd be surprised how bad personal hygiene practices are in this country and how the people act when it comes to just basic concepts like washing your hands. The amount of people I've seen enter a restroom and leave without washing their hands is disgusting, honestly. It's just gross, especially in modern society where we give you all the necessary tools to be hygienic. But now, because of this situation we're in, people are going to look at hygiene on a whole new level. They're never going to look at it the same way again, and they're going to start thinking about it as a forethought instead of an afterthought. Okay? So people are going to be washing their hands more, people are going to use hand sanitizer, people are going to be showering and taking better care of their health, which is an overall benefit for the whole country and for the whole world. Let's be honest. People being disgusting is what got us here in the first place. And now we're actually starting to change people's minds about their habits. And these habits are starting to be seen as negative. And people aren't even willing to let them pass by anymore. It used to be rude to mention something. Now you're going to hear someone say, "Oh, you're not going to wash your hands?" You know, you're going to hear somebody say, "Hey, just use the hand sanitizer before you come pick up your packages, please." You're going to see all these things start to change. And people aren't just going to magically go back to being the way they were before. People are going to take hygiene as almost a personal issue for themselves. If you come into my store and you smell disgusting and you look disgusting, I might ask you to leave because it's going to make everyone else uncomfortable. That might not have been the case in the past. In the past, you might have just accepted it and said, whatever, this guy's going to buy stuff, he's going to spend money, so I'm going to take care of him the best I can. Now we're putting this as a forethought and saying, you know what, priority says, I need you out of here because these other people are willing to take care of themselves. I don't want to get sick or have any issues, so you got to go and they can stay. And that's where we're heading. We're never going to have those hygiene situations the same way as they ever were before. Yes, there's still going to be dirty people. Yes, there's still going to be people who don't wash their hands. But there are a lot more people who do now, and a lot more people who will never think about it the same way again. They're going to want to wash their hands. They're going to want to take care of themselves, and they're not going to want to be ostracized in public because of the way they're acting or the way they look or the way they smell. Okay? So hygiene might be another positive that's come out of this whole situation, but unfortunately, a lot of what's come out of this whole situation has been negatives more than anything else. This economy is never going to go back to being the same. And if it is, it's going to be based on an artificial inflation. I think we can all agree on that. If you paid attention at all in the last decade, you know that we're just sitting on a bubble. We're not really even building on anything right now. We're just cruising while things just kind of keep going over the edge, right? So what I wanted to do in this video is just mention some things that maybe we all haven't thought about that will definitely never be the same again, okay? But I also do want to mention there's a lot of new preppers, a lot of new prepared people, and I want to say welcome. Welcome all of you. I appreciate you trying to prepare. I appreciate you taking care of yourself and not relying on the government or other people, and knowing that self-reliance and taking care of you and yours is the best thing you can do. And so if you're new to prepping and you're new to preparation in general, make sure you hit the subscribe button below because it helps the channel and we can keep sharing this message. I want you guys to be informed and I want you to think. This isn't a channel where you come here and just say, tell me whatever you think, Magic Prepper, and then I'll believe it. I want you to come here and listen to what I say and make up your own opinion, make up your own mind. Do we argue in the comments sometimes? Yes, we do. Am I upset about that? No. So make sure you guys are doing that and make sure you are doing your best to stay prepared because things could always get worse. We don't know. But in the meantime, thank you all for trying your best to start preparing and welcome to the channel. And if there's any other questions you have, leave them in the comments below. But that's going to be it for Magic.